You the controller.
Hello.
Michelle, it's very noisy where you are. Just put you on mute.
Noisy.
Hello, everybody. Hello, we're a very international audience. This is wonderful. I see South Africa here. Obviously, we have Jackie Schiff, Dr. Jackie Schiff from Israel. But yes, I see South Africa. I see others from Israel as well. So we are delighted to have Jackie Schiff, Dr. Jackie, who's joining us from Israel. As some of you might know, Jackie used to be a member of NAIR till a couple of years ago, and we're delighted she's come back today to help us with our questions and our concerns about the current coronavirus and the situation, the anxiety that we might be feeling. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Jackie, and let's see how it works with the, hold on a second. I need to unmute. Jackie, can you unmute yourself? Lovely. Okay, so Jackie, so everybody's muted. And then at various points, Jackie, just let me know. I'll unmute so that people can ask their questions. If we stay muted from the beginning, Jackie will take questions either live, or if you want to message Jackie, you can message everybody, or you can, within the chat facility, you can actually message Jackie privately as well. So that's the way that we'll proceed for the next 50 minutes. And then I understand that Jackie will spend the last 10 minutes for those who want to taking us through a visualization, some imagery. So, Jackie, over to you. Thank you very much.
Can you hear me? Yeah? Okay, great. So first of all, it's so nice to be part of the NAIR community tonight, and I really appreciate being with all of you. As Michelle mentioned, we lived in Hendon, and we're part of the NAIR community for 8 years. So with Rabbi and Fia and Rabbi Zogan and Aviva, and it's wonderful to join you again. So feel free to send me any questions, and I think I'll just talk for a few minutes and then check to see where we are in questions. So this is an unprecedented time that we're living in. It's something that's new for everyone, for each of us individually, for the world. And it's no wonder that people, are trying to figure out, well, how are we going to do this? How are we going to manage to live in this kind of a time? And so, first of all, I want to kind of have the eyeglasses that we're going to be looking through to understand how to address this, which is that we're all made b'tselem Elokim. We're all made in the image and likeness of God. And within each of us, inside, sometimes it's hard to find, sometimes it's hard to reach, there is beauty inside. And there is the possibility inside to be able to manage whatever it is that we have to manage, that it is there within us. And that's part of our task right now, is to be able to see, well, how am I going to find it? It seems so far away. It seems so hard to reach. How am I going to get there? And that's part of the, shall we say, opportunity of what's going on right now. And so I want to kind of have this lens of it's there for us. It's a matter of how we do it. And part of what's so difficult right now is that everything has changed. The world has turned upside down, on its head. It's shaking us all up in a very, very new way. And the question becomes, so now what? What do I do as in the individual moment? How do I manage the feelings that come up? And on a greater scale, what does this mean for all of us? So there are individual questions, there are existential questions, and moreover, there's just the day-to-day, how do I deal with every minute of my life when things can seem so very difficult? So I already see here, there's one question, so I think we'll just shoot right there, start with that. And please feel free to send any other questions. So this one is really a very important question. It says, we love each other, but it's just too much time together. It's just too much. Too much is too much. I need some space. People aren't used to being on top of each other all the time, right? There's work, there's school, there's going to the supermarket, which used to seem like such a simple thing. And we would have time away from each other. And so it's really important that we do have that individual time that we may really, really need. But how do we make it happen? So first of all, if we stick to a routine, and I don't mean a yucky routine, and I am a yucky, so I don't mean a yucky routine. I mean that there's sort of a general flow of the day. We get up around the same time, we have meals around the same time, we bathe, we snack, we take a break. We do all these things in a certain kind of a routine. And that way we can insert in it time for everyone to have time alone. So even if your space is limited in your home, there are still ways to do it. We're not used to, let's say someone is suddenly working from home, if they're lucky enough to have work, and they've taken over the whole dining room table and the whole living space. And then there are a lot of feelings that will come up, right? There'll be anger, there'll be resentment, there'll be frustration, all kinds of things will come up, helplessness, and kind of, well, what do I do? It's good that there's work happening in the house, but I'm ready to tear my hair out. I just can't handle this. And so there needs to be communication. So we set a time, schedule a time to speak with your spouse about it and say, listen, it's great that you're working, and I'm so grateful that you're working, and I'm so appreciative that we have work, right? That's wonderful. but I just really need some space in the general area. Can we have 2 hours a day, or 1 hour a day, or 20 minutes in the morning and an hour at night, or some way that we can balance things out a bit so that we each get our own space? And the same is true for people of all ages in the home.
Did you have any
You know, teenagers, they need their privacy. They need their privacy. And so just because everybody's home doesn't mean that we can go barging in or expecting them to join us necessarily for every single meal, right? Let them put a sign on their bedroom door that says, please do not disturb, I need some privacy now. Give them privacy. And even the smallest of children can set up a really sweet little nook somewhere in the house. It could be near you. It could be in the kitchen. It could be where you're working at the computer. Somewhere there where they can know that they can go and have a safe space, that there's sort of like their own time out. They go and they can have a quiet space there, and you can make it really sweet for them. A beanbag chair, or just stuffed animals and their favorite blankets. Somewhere they can go where they feel safe, their favorite books, where they can go and have their own kind of time alone, that no one's going to bother them, right? There could be another space where you go and that's where you set up and you are together, and it's a beautiful space. But right now we're talking about giving everybody this time to have on their own space, right?
Jackie,
yeah.
Some of the people who just joined us didn't have the correct link, so they just joined us. Now, can I ask everybody who's not talking at the moment, except for Jackie, if they could mute themselves? We will have opportunities to, I'll unmute, or I'll ask you to unmute yourselves if you have a question. At the beginning, we'll just let Jackie speak, and people are sending in questions. But there have been just some comments to say, please, can you just explain what you said at the beginning, which you kind of have, but where you're going. Yeah.
Okay, sure. So I'll just repeat it quickly. So I want to look at this time through a certain lens, and that lens is that we're made b'tselem Elokim. We're made in the image and likeness of God, and in each and every one of you is a piece of God. It is. And sometimes it's hard to reach. Sometimes we feel like that's impossible, no way, right? But everybody has it inside them. And during these very, very challenging times, these times when it feels like I have no idea what to do, we feel powerless, we feel like we have no idea what's next, which we don't, which was actually always true. We always didn't know. It was easier to live in that kind of illusion of certainty, but it actually didn't really exist, right? It wasn't there before. And just now it's much harder to kind of pretend that we do have certainty, because so much is uncertain. Every day things are changing. And so we're faced with having to see that life, that illusion of certainty was truly an illusion. And now we're facing kind of, well, what's on the other side? What does that mean? Where does that leave me? So there are a lot of questions for individuals and existential questions. And that kind of is what I said at the beginning. So we're going to look at it through this kind of a framework. Okay. So any questions? Anybody want to start? Who's brave?
Okay, so what I would suggest is, if anybody has any questions, just to unmute yourselves now. So we'll have an opportunity now for anybody to ask questions. If you don't want to ask them live, you can always message Jackie, either privately message her under chat or message everybody so that everybody can see the question. But I'm sure Jackie will explain the question anyhow. Does anybody want to start?
Michelle, I see something here. We can pick this up. This is a really good question. This is a question about teenagers, but it really applies to all of us. But there's so many big things to worry about now. Finances, getting sick. Just want to see what it says here. It says here, so my kids are upset about missing Pizza Fridays, right? Or about not going to summer camp. And these are the things that they're upset about. And meanwhile, I'm worried about how am I going to, how's this word? Somebody keeps waving. If I could ask you to stop waving, because it's really distracting me. So they're asking, like, how is it that I can pay attention to these teens and their kind of so-called little concerns when I have much greater concerns going on for me. And this is so, so important, you know, because it feels like, well, what we're dealing with is real life, and what they're dealing with is kid stuff. And it's actually gam v'gam, both are true. Both are true. What we're dealing with is real life stuff. But in fact, what the teenagers are dealing with is also real life stuff, because this is their language of talking about what their losses are, what their difficulties are, what their anxieties are. You know, kids' brains don't really fully form until they're 25, 24, 25. And so until that time, they are going to express themselves in ways that are not as mature or as thoughtful, perhaps, although many teens are incredibly thoughtful, but they're not going to be able to express themselves. And as parents, it's our job to acknowledge what they're going through, because they also feel alone in this. They also feel helpless. They also feel anxious. And so it's our job to say, yes, it's a loss for you not to have your pizza Friday, or it's a loss for you not to be able to have that last term at school, right? The last term of high school or the last term of university. It's truly a loss for them, and they'll never be able to regain it. And so although compared to these greater issues, it seems so trivial, it's important to them. And so as parents, it's important for us to acknowledge what they're going through, no matter what it is. And so if they're upset about it, then we want to address it with them and not leave them alone. This is a time when so many people feel alone. And so for those that we can touch, it's our job, even though it can be a challenge when we're feeling our own anxieties, it's our job to be able to support them and to help them through whatever it is that they're going through. Also, there's a lot of research now that backs what we call naming the monster, right? So let's say anxiety, that we'll call the monster. So if you see that someone in your family, a teen or a spouse or yourself, if you're feeling really anxious or you're feeling angry more than normal, the first thing we want to do is just name it. We want to name it. Oh, I feel angry, or I sense that you feel angry, or I sense that you feel anxious. Whatever it is the feeling is, because what it does is it allows us to file that feeling and make it part of our internal structure. If we don't name the feelings, that contributes to us feeling overwhelmed. And then it's like we're juggling all these balls at once. I'm juggling the anxious ball and the angry ball and the frustration and the anger and the resentment, and I'm juggling it all at once. And that's really overwhelming. But if I catch one of the balls and I file it under the anxious place, or I file it under the helpless place, suddenly I can begin to reorganize my internal structure, and I can feel stronger and grow my resilience. And so this is why it's so important to be able to begin to just acknowledge the feelings, not push it under the rug, make it a part of everyday conversation, make it normal. Because right now we're having normal reactions in an incredibly abnormal situation, right? This, we can all agree, it's an abnormal situation. But these are feelings that are normal and human. And you're all humans, as far as I know. You're all human beings. And so you're going to have feelings. Even if you live in the UK, you're going to have feelings. And that's okay, and that's normal. And I'm going to say it again. It is normal experience in an abnormal situation. We all have feelings. And this is an incredible opportunity for us to be able to notice them and to follow this research that tells us that if you begin to acknowledge it, that it gets organized inside yourself instead of feeling overwhelming and having to always juggle it all the time. And so part of what we have to do in these times is to give ourselves a lot of permission. What does that mean, permission? It's that we have to open up our kindness and have a bit of lower expectations. And I know as a Jewish mother, saying to have lower expectations is like contraindicated in all places. But actually here, we have to have a bit of lower expectations.
77, tap it on your phone.
Okay. You know, don't worry, Jackie, carry on.
Okay, carry on.
If you could, yeah, that's it. I think everybody's muted now. So In a minute, Jackie, I'll offer anybody to unmute themselves and ask a question.
No problem. Great. So part of what we need to do now is actually lower our expectations of what we can do, because our brains are overloaded now with just trying to deal with the situation. This new world that's happening now, this unprecedented time, our brains have to process it. And so if we find that people are not able to do as much as they normally do, or we don't feel as productive, or we're not getting all the tasks done that we normally did, or people in our families are not able to do what they normally do, or you see that people are just like looking out the window and daydreaming more than normal, our brains are processing what is going on. And we need that time and space to process. And some people need a lot of extra sleep, or they need maybe a nap. We need to be more open to kind of just being a little more reasonable, a little more giving, and allowing people to take what they need, not in a way that's harmful to anyone else, never in that way. And I don't mean that we should accept bad behavior from other people in terms of, angry behavior towards you, or, just getting out of line. But at the same time, we don't have to jump into every argument. We don't have to engage in every fight that's possible. Give people, including yourself, a little bit of a break and just say, you know what? These are hard times. I understand. Would you like a hug? These are hard times. Can we try to just not fall into every fight that presents itself, right? Never we should, I like the hugging. Never should we allow ourselves to be abused in any way. That's an extreme example, and that's not for tonight's conversation. Tonight's conversation is for, healthier experiences that sometimes get out of line, right? I'm not talking about abuse. Never allow yourself to be abused. There are other channels to take care of that.
Okay, so if anybody now has some live questions that they might want to ask Jackie directly, if you'd like to unmute yourself and ask. I can see people leaning forward, but does anybody want to do that? If not, I do have a question. Yeah, it was very interesting. It's about a friend. I see that a lot of people are actually sort of getting into this sort of coronavirus. They're unnerved by the illness and the possibility of fatal consequences, but they've enjoyed Yom Tov, they've enjoyed the relaxed pace. There are certain things that they're enjoying, whereas another friend is like looking around and seeing these people actually quite enjoying what's happening and being able to, take the foot off the accelerator, but she feels that she can't work properly. And it really, really upsets her that, she's been enjoying her life. She really enjoys working. She enjoys going to work each day. And now that's kind of like being taken away from her. Luckily, she is still trying to work, but she's juggling everything as well as working. And looking around at other people who are just sort of like, as it were, enjoying themselves or enjoying the situation as much as they can. She feels that she's not doing it right, as it were, because she's just feeling that she can't work, and that to her is so important.
Right. Yes, it is really, really hard. It really is hard. And, for many people, they're not accomplishing, and it's totally normal. They're not accomplishing what they normally are. First of all, there are practical things happening. There are children at home. There are spouses at home that are normally home. Maybe you have an extra person in your home that isn't normally there. So there's a lot of cooking, right? Just that alone could take up the whole day. Just cooking and Pesach on top of it. Oh my goodness, right? It's really overwhelming. And so the idea is, and there's a term in psychology we use, it's called radical acceptance. And right now is a time for radical acceptance. If I'm not getting it done, that means I can't get it done right now. And I need to think about what that means to be productive and what that means to get things done in a totally different way. Start easy. Get one thing done a day. One thing. Start with one. Appreciate that, right? We're learning now in this time of bidud, in time of isolation and being home, we're learning about appreciating all the things that were so simple in life before, right? Jumping out to take care of whatever we wanted to take care of, right? Whatever it was, we were able to do it and now we can't. We need to begin to appreciate the smaller things. And also you can use something called chunking, which is, I'm gonna get this kind of small thing done. And then if I'm able, then I'll get the next chunk thing done. But not to set out sort of the whole day. These are the 100 things I'm gonna do, right? Usually we have these long lists of things that we're gonna accomplish. I know Michelle has those lists, but you're very good at accomplishing them. And so we need to set that aside for right now, right? And we need to accept, because it's possible, and it's very possible, that that's not the lesson for right now, is to be productive like that. The lesson for right now, and for everyone, is different. I'm not speaking for everyone, but for some people, the lesson right now is to learn to live more in the flow and to see what we find in the flow of life. You know, we're used to living with the left side of the brain, the logical side of the brain, the side of the brain that says, you know, that teaches Gemara, side of the brain that builds table, the side of the brain that can draw a blueprint for an architect for a home or for a building. We're used to relying on the left side of the brain, and that gets us very far. But we forget there's actually the right side. Well, for you guys, it's on this side, the right side of the brain as well, right? The brains are on a horizontal plane. They're of equal value. And the right side of the brain allows us to have flow. And this is the time where we can begin to flow and we can begin to ask questions. And we may not have the answers. They may not come to us. But the important thing is to begin to ask the questions. And so if I can't, speaking back to your friend, if I can't be as productive as normal, I need to have radical acceptance and kindness and compassion. We're seeing tremendous amount of compassion and kind activities going on in our communities and in other communities all over the world. We're seeing tremendous kindness, tremendous new ways of looking at things. And so don't let it upset you if you can't do as much as I used to do normally in the old world. Be open to considering that maybe this is a new world and there's a new way and there are new possibilities, right? You know, in the word impossible, it says, I'm possible. There are new possibilities in this new world. Try it, be open to it, consider it. Don't be afraid that if it wasn't the same as it was before, that it isn't good. It can be good also.
Can I say something?
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Okay. So I have an opposite situation of most people because I live alone with a 97-year-old mother. And because of that, I have decided to put myself totally into isolation. I'm finding that difficult, but I'm coping with it. But what I'm finding very hard to deal with, I've got extreme anger against a lot of friends of mine who are breaking the rules, who think it's okay to have gone to their children for Chag or to have, I see people going to their parents for Seder. They're just breaking the rules, and that brings up a lot of anger in me, which I know doesn't help. But I have to deal with my own isolation and seeing that other people are not totally isolated. And they're breaking the rules. They think it doesn't apply to them, or they're not going to catch illness. I don't know. It's to deal with this anger that I feel that I'm finding it hard to deal with.
Right.
I can deal with the loneliness. I can keep myself busy, but
Right.
other people flagrantly breaking the rules, I think it doesn't apply to them.
Yes. Yes. That's an excellent question, Jenny, and you're completely not alone in feeling angry. I think there's a tremendous amount of anger for many different things, but specifically to what you're saying, people who are taking the isolation really seriously for the benefit of the good, right? Of the good, this is a socially responsible thing, which is if we each take it into consideration and we each stay in isolation, then that's what the scientists are telling us is going to help to curb the spread of the virus. And so it's really disheartening when you see people who aren't doing that. Hi, Jonathan. When you see people who aren't doing that, and you're home alone with a 97-year-old mother, And that's incredibly difficult as well. And so first of all, I want to model for you that we want to acknowledge the feelings. It's normal. It's obvious. It's human for you to feel really angry about these things. It's totally human. The question becomes, then what do I do about it, right? Because I know that anger is not good for me, as you said. It's not good for me. It's not good for my organs. It's not good for my liver. It's not good for many parts of myself. And yet I feel this feeling. What do I do about it? So one thing that's really fascinating about emotions like anger and fear, which are our two most basic emotions, is that emotions are energy in motion, emotion. All emotions have energy. And so we have an opportunity that we can take that energy and we can channel it for something good, right? It's not necessarily easy. It doesn't happen in a snap. It's something we have to learn. Because what happens in our lives, and we each have different emotions, which are our kind of like our go-to emotions. For some people, I slip more easily into anger. For other people, I slip more easily into anxiety. Everybody has their way. One isn't better than the other. One isn't right or wrong. It's just how we're built. Everybody has their way. And I bet you could look at the people in your life and you could be like, oh yeah, angry, anxious, frustrated. You could see it quickly. It's very easy to identify, and it's even easy to identify in ourselves. But what we can learn to do when we feel angry is we can just pause for a moment. We want to get a little bit of distance. And this is what the research shows, is that we get a little bit of distance from the emotion and we can begin to deal with it. But if we stay in the anger, if we stay entrenched in it, even if we know that like it's wrong what these people are doing, I can't say it's wrong. I can't say it's wrong. I don't know what's best for someone else. I can only know what's best for myself, or at least hope that I know what's best for myself. But for me to think that I know what's better for another person in the world is kind of, it's arrogant on my part to think that I know better, right? What I can do is I can begin to understand my own emotion. And so if I feel angry, I have to say to myself, I'm angry, I'm outraged, I'm filled with rage, I'm furious. I feel like in a volcano that's going to explode. I'm so, so angry. And I have to begin to just acknowledge it and breathe out. Breathe out that energy, because emotions, like we said, are energy. So if I breathe out 3 long exhalations,
I've lost you.
you've lost me.
Oh, no, I hear you now. Yeah.
If you breathe out 3 long exhalations, which is very, very different than what we do, like some people say, breathe in and then breathe out, right? Or counting to 10, which is also good, because anything that makes you stop for a moment. But if I breathe out 3 long exhalations, it literally quiets the body. Just that 3 long out breaths. And that's the beginning. It's not going to take away your anger and your fury. But this is a short talk, right? So what we're talking about is just how to begin a little bit, get a taste of how to quiet myself down. And I can do it with the breath. There's a lot of talk now in mindfulness about breathing and all of these kinds of things. But if you think about it from a few perspectives, I'll just give you 2 in this quick way, is that first of all, the corona disease, the coronavirus, is all about trouble with breathing. It's all about the lungs and trouble with breathing. So we can learn something from this kind of on a different level, which is that we need to pay better attention to our breath. And we need to learn to pay attention to quieting our own breath. We have to do the opposite. So when I go to an old habit that's really not a healthy habit for me, I need to start to go to the opposite. So when I'm angry or anxious, what happens is my breath gets caught. When I'm anxious, it often gets caught in the throat. When I'm angry, it might get caught in my heart or in other places. So I need to pay attention to my breath. Remember, the word neshama and neshima, breath and soul, are the same. So we can use our breath to reach our soul. And this is a very deep, deep thing to do. And it's not an easy thing to do. But I can start by just saying what I'm saying. I feel angry. I feel rageful. I feel filled with this. Maybe I've been feeling this for many, many years. Maybe it's something new. I don't know, right? But whatever it is, if I stop and pay attention to it, and I just acknowledge who I am and what I am in this moment, breathe out slowly, get that energy moving out of my system, because part of what I need to do is not feel so stuck. I've got to get it moving. So if I get my energy moving, I can transform it. I can learn to, not only with 3 breaths, but that's the beginning. It's the tip of the iceberg.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I see here, my children are young adults living away from home. I'm worried about how they're coping. What's the best way to support them? That is a wonderful question. Well, first of all, you have to ask them. I live far away.
Can I ask everybody to mute themselves? I think if you've been on a phone and then onto a computer, if you just make sure that you're just on one what's it called? One device. Thank you. One device, because otherwise we're hearing background from the other device. Thank you. Okay.
So the first thing to do about supporting young adults living far away from home, which I can totally relate to and understand, it's very scary to have your children, no matter what age they are, to have them far away. And it's really upsetting. And everybody kind of feels like, I just wish, I don't know about everybody, but many people feel, I just wish I could have them, all in the nest, all home together with me. And then we're protected. So if they're far away, it's a natural feeling to be worried about them. But we don't want to transfer that worry over to them, right? We want to make sure that we're there to support them. And that's why I like your questions so much, because you're saying, I'm worried, you're acknowledging how you feel, but you're also saying, how can I best support them? The first thing to do is really just ask them. Say, listen, I'm worried about you. You're far away. I'm your mother. I'm your father. Of course I'm worried about you. But the way that I can support you is to show them that they can do it. They are able. Make them feel able. Make them feel capable. So don't say like, make sure you're exercising, which of course would be a great thing for them to do, and that would keep their serotonin levels high. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you just froze for the sec, but I think we got the
Okay, is it back? So we want to make sure not to sort of wag our fingers at the young adults, right? We know they should be exercising. We know we should be exercising. We know we should be trying to eat well and having water. Okay, I just changed the video. And having, and having water throughout the day. We know that these are good things for them, but we shouldn't be wagging our fingers at them, telling them what to do. That will make them feel less. That will make them feel unable. We want to make them feel more capable. So ask them how they're doing. Ask them what they need. Ask them, how can I help you? What do you need from me? What would be helpful to you? Just ask them and then follow up. And also listen carefully to what they say. If they begin to talk about feeling anxious or helpless or angry or out of control or whatever the feelings are that you're noticing, or if they're having trouble with their spouse or with their own children, or if they're having trouble because they're alone, whatever the trouble is, acknowledge it for them and say, I know it's really hard for you because you're dealing with whatever it is. Acknowledge what's difficult for them. Tell them. And try not to spill onto them about what your difficulties are. Save that for your generation, right? And help them and support them with their feelings. Because that's the only thing we can really do from afar, is to help them with their feelings. If there's some way we can help them physically, I don't know what that might be. Maybe helping them with food delivery, depending on where they are and what the trouble is. But basically support them with your understanding. This is very hard. And tell them, like we were saying earlier, if they're not being as productive, show them that you support and respect them and understand it, and that it's okay. Radical acceptance. Give them support. Tell them it's okay. Tell them that you love them. Tell them they're doing well, even if it's not exactly what they want or wish that they were doing, or you wish that they were doing. Mourn the losses with them. Young adults have a lot of plans, a lot of dreams, a lot of hopes, things they were building toward, and now it's dismantled all in an instant, right? Show them you understand. Tell them it's okay. And also remind them, and remind all of us, that this is not going to be forever. And that really helps to know. It's not going to be forever. There have been terrible things in the world before, world wars we've heard about from our grandparents perhaps. Other mass things that have gone on. We've heard stories from immigrants about lives being upended, turned over, restarting. We know these stories. Tell them it's not forever. But how do you know it's not forever? This is not how the world has been working. It's not forever. It's not by chance that this whole story sort of erupted, at least in the Western world, around Purim time, which is the Chag, the holiday of uncertainty and doubt and not knowing, right? There's a little hint there for us that this is what the whole world is going for. Take that hint. No, it's not forever. No, it will end, right? Okay, I think I've said enough on that front. Any other questions? Look here.
Okay, is there another question coming live? If you'd like to just ask it, please. I thought I heard. I
I have one here, Michelle.
Okay.
Somebody's saying that my little ones have become so clingy. They don't even understand what the word pandemic means, and yet they're clingy and driving me crazy. I want to be a good mother. What can I do? So first of all, even though they don't understand what's going on in a sort of verbal way, they understand something big is going on. And children, even small children, may remember in 20, 30 years from now, they may remember that time when there was a lot of anxiety in the house. And so it's not surprising if they're going to be more aggressive and they're going to be more clingy. And so give them more time. Give them more time. Play with them. Through their play, that's how they develop. That's how they work things out. So acknowledge for them in their play what they're going through, what it is, and help them to work it out. And then if you've been spending too much time with them, make sure you get a break. If you have an older child that can take care of the younger ones, or you have a spouse, or if they take a nap, whatever you can do to get yourself the break and the time alone that you need as much as you can, work so that you can have that time for yourself. But now is not the time to get rid of the pacifier, right? I've heard some people say, well, we're home now, I might as well get rid of the pacifier or the diapers or get them sleeping through the night. If a child is showing regressive behavior, it's not a time to try to push them forward, because they're working stuff out from behind, and we need to just support them with that. The other thing about kids is that we don't want to take over their anxiety. We don't want to sort of tell them what to do. You have to do this, you have to do that. Ask them, even young children, what do you think would help you now? And you'll be surprised. They might say to you, oh, I need this teddy bear, or oh, I need some quiet time, or oh, I need a book. Or they may say when they're older, they may say, you know what, I really need to start jumping rope. I need to get some exercise. You might be surprised what they'll come up with on their own. And that helps them to build resilience if you ask them the question. Pose questions and let the answers percolate. And the same is true for ourselves. If we begin to pose the question to ourselves, then the answers will come. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but the answers will come. And that's what is part of our job, is to ask the questions. My father-in-law, Rabbi Solomon Schiff, who was the head of pastoral care at UJF, United Federation, in Miami for 50 years, and he worked with dying patients in hospitals all the time. He talks about this one Tehillim, Keli Keli Lama Ta'azvateni. Right, God, why did you leave us? And he says it's not Lama, it's Lima. For what? For what? For what is this time? And this is a great existential question that we can all ask ourselves. For what is this time? And we don't have to worry about the answer. The way our psyche works is that we have to ask the questions, right? In Judaism, it's always about the questions. The same is true internally. We need to ask ourselves, what is this for? Not why. What is this for? And let that question percolate inside of you. Whether I'm anxious or angry or helpless or feel out of control or resentful, whatever my feelings are, whatever my situation is, if I'm alone, if I'm with an elderly mother, if I'm with small children, if I'm a newlywed just with a new husband or wife, whatever my situation is, if I'm down the block from people I love and I can't see them because I am keeping the isolation, quarantine, guidelines, whatever it is, ask yourself the questions, Let them percolate. Let yourself dream. This is a time when there's movement in the whole world. There's a new flow. We can actually open up new dreams and get out of the narrow straits, right? Pesach, get out of the narrow straits, our old thoughts and our old ways, our old beliefs, and give yourself permission to think of new ways, of new times, new possibilities, which is really hard to do when I'm feeling anxious. So when I feel anxious, I stop, I feel it, I name it, I breathe out slowly. And in a couple of minutes, we're going to do some imagery to help with anxiety. But for those of you who don't want to do it, I'm going to wait on that. But the main thing is to give yourself this permission, and also to take on new activities, take on new exercising, start journaling. But don't take this on as I must do these things, and if I don't, I failed. No, there's no failure in this time. The only thing is possibility. So I can try something new, and I can try it short. That's why I like jumping rope. First of all, jumping rope is really good because there are studies that show if you do the alternating movements, anything that's alternating movements, jumping rope, running, knitting, crocheting, anything that's alternating like that has a self-regulating aspect to it, and it can feel almost like being in the womb, that kind of movement, right? So anything like that is going to be really, really good for us. So it's not that you have to do it because it's good for you. You try it and you see which of these things might be useful to you. And if you enjoy it and you do it. If you don't enjoy it, then you leave it. It's okay. I'm going to take a breath.
So I'll ask if anybody has any more questions, if they want to either live ask Jackie, or if you want to message Jackie either privately, you can through the chat facility, or to everybody, whatever you want.
I think we have time for one more question, and then we're going to move to the imagery.
Okay. Have you got anything on chat, Jackie?
Yeah. Let's see.
Otherwise, I've got something, but
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Michelle.
it's probably quite a quick one. It's about eating.
All right.
I like the meme that says, you must wear your face mask in the house. It's not to help with a virus, but it will stop you eating.
Oh, that's funny. I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
So listen, people need comfort now. They're scared. This is a big deal. And so they're scared. And so the easiest way is to go for food, to go for especially sugar, right? That's, people want some sweetness in their lives. And so it's a normal thing to do. And what we need to do when it comes to these kind of old habits that even people who are, really disciplined and, marathon runners who watch every little morsel that comes into their body, and that's fantastic, even they're slipping. And so what we need to do is just take a pause first and say, why am I doing this? Am I hungry? Or is it something that can be resolved in a different way? And also give yourself a little bit of a break. It's okay, as long as you're not going crazy with it, it's okay. So take a pause and say, am I eating for hunger or am I eating for an emotion? And if it's an emotion, and be honest with yourself, right? It's only you and me, right? It's just you and me inside. And so be honest with yourself and say, you know what? It's because I'm feeling really anxious. And maybe you can pause for that moment and do some work on the anxiety. And at least be honest. Even if you don't stop yourself, at least be honest with yourself. It's our job to be honest with ourselves. And like I was saying before, there used to be that we were able to live in this illusion of certainty, this illusion of control, and we could live with certain lies and false selves that were right in our lives that we kind of pretended la-di-da weren't really there. But now is a time for us to be honest with ourselves. If you look at the word emet, if you look at the word truth, what happens if you take away the aleph, right? You take away one, God, the source, you're left with mate, you're left with death. Let's be honest with ourselves, right? We can be honest with other people too. Sure, I encourage it, but at least let's start with being honest with ourselves and be honest with how we feel. This is how I feel. This is why I'm doing it. Even if I can't stop myself from taking that food that I know isn't good for me, at least start with being honest with myself that I'm doing something and it's because of a feeling. And we start there. Small steps, that's what we do.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Have you got another question you said, or do you want to?
I do have another question, but I think now it's 10 to the hour. And so I'd like to have some time to do the imagery if people are here for that.
Okay. Okay. So what I'll do is then I'll say thank you at this sort of half finishing point. So if anybody wants to continue, then we'll be here for another image. But otherwise, thank you so much for joining us from Renana.
Pleasure.
It's lovely to have you with us again, and thank you very much for facilitating this episode. Okay.
So, so for those of you who haven't done any imagery before, I'm going to just tell you very briefly what it is. And that's really just a way of looking at whatever issue is going on for us, looking at it in a picture form inside ourselves. Because as we know, a picture is worth 1,000 words. A picture is worth 1,000 words. And so if we can see internally what the picture is of what we're going through, then we're able to change it, right? We can understand things much more quickly in a picture form. We can understand its breadth and depth. And so if we team that together with our breath, then we're able to help us to make some internal changes. So I'm going to ask you to just put your feet flat on the floor. I'm going to do the same. Put your feet flat on the floor. Put your hands on your lap or on a table in front of you, but nothing is crossed. And close your eyes and just watch your breathing. Just watch your breathing, allowing your breath to find its own rhythm. Not trying to change anything, just allowing it to return to its own natural rhythm. Knowing that when you allow it to return to its own natural rhythm, what is not in place tends to return to be in place. And now bring your attention to the level of the heart, bringing your consciousness to the level of the heart. Allowing your breath to find its own rhythm. Knowing that when the breath finds its own rhythm, what is not in place tends to return to be in place. Bring your attention down a little bit lower, lower abdomen, and please make sure you're all on mute. And bring your attention down to the lower abdomen and watch your breathing. Allowing your breath to find its own rhythm. Knowing what is not in order tends to return to be in order. And breathe out slowly, 3 long exhalations. On the next long, slow exhalation, seeing the number 3. On the next long, slow exhalation, seeing the number 2. On the next long, slow exhalation, seeing the 1 is tall, clear, and bright. And imagine you're standing in a meadow on a bright, sunny day. And if the sun is to your left, you just watch as the day progresses so that the sun comes to the sky above you or to your right. And when the sun is above you or to your right, you reach your hands up towards the sun. Imaginally, your imaginal hands, you reach as they go up, up, up to the sun. And when they're very close to the sun, you sense them becoming warm, very warm and turning to light. Sense them becoming very warm and turning to light. And breathe out slowly. And now bring your hands down into your body, all the way down to the feet. And you begin to gather up all your fears. You gather up all your fears starting from the feet. And you're going to take them out of your body. So you gather up all the fears from the feet, going up the body and the belly and the heart in the chest, in the lungs, in the neck, wherever you're holding your fears, and you're going to lift them up to the heavens, lifting them up to the heavens, and breathe out slowly. And see your hands disappearing into the blue sky. See your hands disappearing into the blue sky and feel them emptying. And as you feel them getting lighter and lighter, emptying, you breathe out slowly. And bring your hands down. And as you bring your hands down, you may feel a gift from the heavens is being put into your hands. And you bring this gift down, opening your hands when they're in front of you, and see what's there. And see what's there. And breathe out slowly, feeling your feet on the ground, feeling yourself supported in the chair, and opening your eyes. Now, does anyone want to say what happens in the imagery? You can unmute yourself and say. Did anybody have any upset in the imagery? Anything that was upsetting to them? Okay, so that's good to know. All right, if you're up for it, we'll do one more quick imagery. This first one that we've just done is very good to do in case there's any fear or anxiety, and you just gathering it up. We're
I'll say one thing.
Yes.
I did feel, and a possibility of a new beginning.
Wonderful. Good. So keep that for yourself. And every day, just take a moment. You breathe out slowly 3 times, and you take a look at that space every day, that space of new beginning. Where is it in your body? Where is it housed?
In the hands that you gave me.
In the hand. Wonderful. So every day you feel it in the hand, just for a moment, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and that way you nurture it. Beautiful, Natalie. Wonderful. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you for having the courage to speak up. Would anyone else like to say? Okay, so we're going to do one more quick one. Close your eyes, put your feet flat on the floor. Breathe out slowly, 3 long exhalations. On the next long, slow exhalation, seeing the number 3. On the next long, slow exhalation, seeing the number 2. And on the next long, slow exhalation, seeing the 1 is tall, clear, and bright. And you imagine that you're in your meadow on this sunny, sunny day with the sun above you or to your right, and you're sitting on the green, green elastic grass. And you pick up some long grasses and some of the rays of the sun. You reach up and grab some of the rays of the sun, and you weave them together into a little pillow. And when you have a nice little pillow of woven grass and sunlight, you put it over your solar plexus. The solar plexus is that spot between the belly button and the ribs. And you put it over the solar plexus, feeling the warmth and the comfort of this warmth. And you're going to weave a long scarf of the same matter. So the grass, the long, long grass and sunlight. And you use this as a belt to hold the pillow around your body. And pay attention to what is happening in your body when you do this. Pay attention to what is happening in your body when you do this. And ask for the pillow of light to remain as long as you need it, as long as your body needs it to help you with anything you may be feeling. You keep that pillow of light with the belt along as long as you need it. And every day you can put it on again and breathe out slowly, opening your eyes and feeling that warmth of the pillow around you. Okay. Does anybody want to say what they experienced, what it feels like in the body, any thoughts, feelings, emotions you can say now before we end? Okay. So these are challenging times, and I hope you've learned a few things to help you through them. Remember to stop and pause, and to remember that each of you is made b'Tselem Elokim, and as are all the people around you. And this is an opportunity for us to try to feel and experience that in ourselves and in others. And I wish you all a bracha of healing on the inside, on the outside, on all levels, and that we should come through this time with growth and opportunity and kindness for all.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
It's
much.
really helped us sort of really put some power into our hands to think more of ourselves, to have confidence in ourselves a bit more. Thank you very much.
I'm so glad. Love to Hendon.
Enjoy the rest of Chag.
Thank you, you too. Break out of those narrow straits.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
תודה רבה.
בבקשה.
הרבה שמחה.